G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our coverage of the Seat Story Cup, this time in the semi-finals. In the top left hand corner of ZvZ Stronghold, it's going to be LiquidTLO. The bottom left hand corner as his opponent, fellow team member LiquidSnute as our blue Zerg. So it's going to be a ZvZ semi-final here, best of 5 series. First player to take 3 players will progress to the grand finals to face Rockat's Hyun, who just triumphed over Jakji. So we are going to have a ZvZ matchup here. And both these players are obviously very familiar with each other and each other's play style. Aussiestarcraftreplays Stronghold, also a very interesting map for ZvZ play. Potentially a very large map with longer macro games. ZvZ tends to make it quite a lot more compact and short. Things like the travel distances between the natural and main base make later Mutalisk play very dangerous. Also early game things like speedlings make it very tough for Zerg to defend against other Zerg players. So in spite of the fact that the map is actually quite large, you've got to be super careful. If you end up trying to deal with your opponent's speedlings too early on, you can lose your expansions very quickly and easily. So both these players scouting out with their initial overlords, wanting to find where their opponents are located. TLO actually guessing the correct direction with his first overlord, so will be aware of what is going on. Unfortunately, the travel distance for that overlord means that TLO probably not going to be realizing that Snute's gone gas first for quite some time. TLO himself has gone for a gasless opening, throwing down a spawning pool here. So this will actually be quite interesting to see how TLO decides to reverse this build. If TLO decides to go for his quite standard gasless 3-hatch, lots of queen style opening, he could actually end up in quite a bit of trouble, as Snute going for what looks like a very quick Zergling speed here. TLO's speed going to be at least a couple of minutes behind Snute, and Snute could find himself in a very aggressive and well positioned to deal with TLO's strategy. TLO actually throwing down his first base and throwing it down outside, as opposed to this very safe natural expansion that's tucked in behind your main base. So TLO going for quite a bold strategy here. If he can hold it off, he's going to do very well in this game. Unfortunately, his gas still not being mined here, and we find that Snute's Zergling speed's only 60 seconds away. So TLO long term going to have a lot better production, but the question is, will TLO make it through to a sufficient point in this game that he can take advantage of this extra hatchery? Actually looking like TLO planning to throw down a third base here, and I think this perhaps is just a little bit too greedy. TLO still only just becoming aware of what's going on. Would have seen that if we check out TLO's vision, he actually hasn't seen the spawning pool, so no knowledge that spawning pool is actually upgrading, that Zergling speed's already on the way. TLO's first Zergling's going to make their way in here, and unfortunately for TLO, he's going to find out too little too late that this gas has been mining for some time. You can see that only one worker's there now, which means speed likely already on the way. And as these Zerglings make their way across the map, we can see TLO throwing down a few spine crawlers in desperation here. Unfortunately, TLO's expansion at the front of his base not doing a whole lot yet. Unfortunately, not enough minerals to actually fuel the production of both these hatcheries. You can see TLO quite a lot of lava banked up, but unfortunately not enough minerals to do anything with it. So we see that Snute's Zergling speed actually kicking in here. 3 Banelings being morphed in the low ground. These Zerglings going to be able to make their way straight into the main base. Nice positioning on these spine crawlers means it's going to be very difficult for this number of Zerglings to do a whole lot. Unfortunately, the Zerglings do have free reign, and the distance between these bases makes it very difficult. Bad rally point in those Zerglings going to get them cleaned up straight away. And Snute looking like he's going to take quite a demanding lead in this first game. Queen on the edge of the creep, trying to snipe down a few of these Banes now. Unfortunately, the Queen not wanting to be caught out of position by these Speedlings. Speedlings trying to get us around here, but in range of the Spine Crawl is going to allow him to do a lot of damage. Queen surviving by the skin of her teeth there. Unfortunately for Snute, most of his Zerglings and Banelings being picked off by the Spine Crawl, although the Queen has almost gone down, and TLO finds himself in a very compromising position. If he loses these 2 Queens, the game will get very difficult very quickly. Sending 1 Queen down to try and defend this hatchery, it's nice choice. There's not a lot here that can clean it up. He has to be super careful. A lot of Zerglings actually taking down the natural that was established out the front, and as soon as this goes down, TLO is going to find himself under siege in his main base, and also trying to hold this third base and moving a spine crawler down here. I like the thought process of this, but unfortunately for TLO, I don't think he can hold it against this substantial amount of Zerglings. So Snute just piling on the pressure here. He's he's actually moving his queen down to inject his natural expansion as well, so that he can produce even more Zerglings. TLO unfortunately just can't produce enough units to make this work. Queen also going to go down now that the spine crawler's fallen, and TLO just not able to do enough damage to Snute here. Snute by himself in a very dominant position. Zerg only just starting for TLO, and I think this is a horrendous position for TLO to be in. Snute able to pick away at whim now that TLO is stuck on one base and contained by these speedlings. Unfortunately, TLO outnumbered, and the queen's going to go down here, and that's I think the nail in the coffin for TLO. Unfortunately, Baneling's getting some nice connections in there. Final spine crawler, just managing to hold on, but TLO can't match the production of Snute. 10 Zerglings coming at a time, and there's a bit of an indication of just how volatile these ZvZ games can be. One misstep, one greedy decision to go for 2 expansions before you know quite what your opponent's got on the field will put you in a horrendous position. So looks like they needed to recover that game, but I think unfortunately most of the game's over, bar the shouting. TLO's got a few Zerglings and Banelings here, wanting to try and pick off this last Baneling if at all possible, but that Zergling will get isolated and picked down, and TLO's just trying to make one desperate last stand here in his main base, trying to re-expand in the natural. I like this TLO never giving up. Unfortunately, when these Banelings spawn, they are going to spawn with full health, so it's now or never for TLO to clean these up, and unfortunately 3 of those Banelings are going to finish, and the remaining Zerglings of TLO will go down. How many reinforcements will Snute have? 14 more Zerglings on the way. Starting to fall behind a little bit with those injects, giving TLO a moment's opportunity to try and recover here, but 3 more Banelings here ready to roll into the mineral line. This could be critical for TLO. Actually, those Banelings managing to get sniped by TLO. Nice decision there. A few more Banelings here going to be morphed in to try and deal with this swell of Zerglings, but 5 more Banelings on the ramp is bad news for TLO. Can he somehow pull out a win here? I'd like to see him recover. I think TLO very much a fan favourite, but Snute here just showing how great a form he's in. Too many Zerglings and Banelings here for TLO to deal with. And I think these last few Zerglings are going to be able to put on the pressure. Snute needs to take this game and progress to game 2 of this series. So many Banelings here. We see TLO trying to detonate on these Banelings, but unfortunately Snute there with the slightly better micro, and it looks like there's one spine crawler is all that TLO has left to try and defend this. Going to go for one last bust Zerglings and Banelings to decimate the mineral line. Unfortunately, these Banelings are going to be able to detonate on these workers as well as the spine crawler, and this could go quite poorly indeed. Lots of Zerglings from Snute cleaning up that natural expansion. TLO trying to sneak a worker out here to try and keep one alive, but unfortunately it's just too many Zerglings from Snute. He's had that second base up for just too long. If we look at the units tab, it's 34 Lings to 11 and 3 Banelings. It's going to need the best Baneling connections in the world, and I don't think Snute's going to give it to him. There's two more Banelings from TLO trying to make their way over the ramp. Unfortunately, Snute manages to clean those up, and there's just a few Zerglings between Snute and certain victory here. Baneling nest being worked down by these Zerglings. Queen finally falls there, and workers just trying their best to try and protect this spine crawler. The final Banelings put that nail in the coffin, and I think that's it. And TLO GG's out of game number 1, so Snute able to take the first game in this series in pretty good form, if I may say so myself. Will TLO make a recovery? We've certainly seen him before. Find out in game number 2. We'll catch you all in the next cast.